Welcome everyone who's currently popping in. We're so excited to see so many smiling faces. Feel free, if you want, to turn on your camera. We always like to make it feel more in person if you can, but if you're eating your lunch, we also understand. So no worries. Yeah, and if you'd like, feel free to pop in the chat where you're calling in from and maybe something that you're looking forward to learning during today's session or something you'd like to get out of it. We have two amazing speakers on deck for today. So we'll get started in a few moments, but in the meantime, feel free to, just give us, maybe send your name and then where you're calling in from. That'd be fantastic. Hey, Kim, welcome.
Hey, Deidre, great.
Welcome, Tammy. Oh, I believe I've seen you in a past webinar we did, if I'm correct. So welcome again if this is your second time, if I'm correct, if I'm remembering correctly. Welcome to everyone who just hopped into the room. We'll give it about 1 or so more minutes before we start. And in the meantime, everyone feel free to write in the chat where you're coming from. As I mentioned earlier, we always love to see some smiling faces. So if you wanted to turn on your camera, you're welcome to, but no pressure. We understand not everyone wants to, so. Welcome, Matt. Welcome, Kim. Okay, perfect. So we will go ahead and get started. Welcome everyone to our second installment of this year's Purpose and Profit series that we are so excited to bring to you. Purpose and Profit, for those who have not been before, is an online learning series where we like to provide opportunities for the local food and farm sector to really get inspired and to learn new skills and be empowered by a community that has common goals and values and interests, all who are looking to make a meaningful difference. So in this year's series, we're focusing on climate resilience and incorporating innovative and sustainable practices into your business that are not only good for the planet, but also drive profits. So we're looking at things from soil health to shorten supply chains, increase biodiversity, and a lot more. So we'll be looking and hearing from both entrepreneurs and educators in this space to gain new skills, tools, and resources, and really feel empowered that you have the tools to make a meaningful difference. So we're excited to have you all here today. So before we dive right in, it's always important for us to acknowledge the privilege that we have to come together today on the lands that we sit. Many of us are from Canada, others from around the globe as well, but recognizing that specifically in Canada and where I'm sitting from today is on the traditional territories of the Scugog Island First Nation, and taking a moment to recognize that we have the privilege to sit here on these lands, and how grateful we are that we're able to communicate this way. And as well, seeing all the infrastructure that we have in our houses, our computers, our lights, our internet, all of the resources that make up this infrastructure are often taken from, traditional lands throughout the world, So we are so grateful that not only can we be on this land, but communicate in this virtual way using all of these tools that we have. It's really important that we acknowledge that before diving in, so we can take a moment to reflect. Okay, beautiful. So we'll go through the agenda briefly today and what today's session is going to look like. So at around 12:10, we are going to introduce Bellen Tong, who's the owner of Miss Bao Restaurant and Cocktail Bar. And then at 12:30, we will hear from Douglas McMaster, who is a chef, author, presenter, and owner of Silo. At around 12:50, we'll have breakout rooms. So you'll have the opportunity to be in one of the breakout rooms with either Bellen or Douglas. And this is an opportunity for you to ask questions, to kind of pick their brain a bit and have a kind of group discussion to really help empower the ideas you may have and questions and all those types of things. You come out of it feeling like you've gotten a deeper insight into what we're going to be discussing today. At the very end, we'll hear the final thoughts from everyone. We always love to hear from people on maybe what they talked about during the breakout session, so you can kind of share ideas, as well as have a poll and survey at the very end. So I'm going to introduce our went one too far. There we go. I'm going to introduce our two speakers for today. So we have both Bellen Tong, as I mentioned, and Douglas McMaster. So Bellen, who will be speaking first today, is the managing oops, sorry, clicked the wrong thing. My screen is going crazy. Thank you for your patience. Too many tabs open. There we go. Bellen is the managing partner and co-founder of Miss Bao Restaurant and Cocktail Bar, which is a full-service casual dining restaurant and bar located in downtown Kingston, Ontario. And it has the goal of becoming the first zero waste and carbon neutral restaurant in Canada, which is an amazing goal. We're so excited to hear about this. So Bellen started working in the hospitality industry at a very young age and earning her biomechanical engineering degree from Queen's. So she has decided to pursue her passion for food through professional culinary training as well. So the restaurant opened 2 days before the COVID-19 lockdowns in March 2020, which is a very interesting timing. So Miss Bao works closely with local farmers, vendors, and suppliers to achieve all of their sustainability goals. Their current waste diversion rate is 99.5, which is fantastic. And Miss Bao is hoping to total the waste diversion rate by 0.1% in 2023, as well as decrease the amount of organic waste by 15% and recyclable plastic and cardboard by 20%. So we are so excited to be hearing from Bellen. And so we'll still be speaking first, and then we will be hearing from Douglas McMaster. So Douglas began his career in 2003 at Winter & Fields, and then in 2 Michelin-starred restaurants. From there, he moved to London to work at Fergus Henderson's St. John, which he credits as forming the foundation of his career. Following this, Douglas spent the next 2 years doing stages at dozens of different restaurants in the world, including Heston Blumenthal's renowned The Fat Duck and 2 Michelin-starred Noma in Copenhagen. But in 2011, Douglas launched a pop-up restaurant called Wasted in Sydney and Melbourne, successfully testing his zero waste concept by serving food that would have otherwise been wasted in the name of fine dining, which is fantastic. So Douglas returned to the UK and, motivated by the goal to create the world's first zero waste restaurant, and opened Silo in Brighton in 2014 at the age of 26. With the produce delivered package free, which is really outstanding, and flour milled on site and compost machines turning scraps and trimmings into compost. Silo was able to achieve its zero waste goal. And in 2019, Douglas moved Silo to the White Building in London in a partnership with Crate Brewery. So we are very excited to hear from both of our wonderful speakers today and the wealth of knowledge that they'll be able to bestow upon us about the restaurant industry and all of the ways that they've been able to achieve this fantastic reduction in waste. Okay, so our first speaker today will be Bellen. So I will toss it over to you, Bellen. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. And yeah, I apologize for not being able to share my screen. So if I'm gonna bother Jessica to share my slide in the chat, yeah, that'd be amazing. Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. And thank you guys for joining me today. And today I just want to chat a little bit more about our sustainability roadmap, as well as our breakdown of our practices, goals, and the future. So as many of you guys probably know that Ontario currently just implement plastic ban for like restaurants and like for takeouts and stuff. So I think that was amazing. And that's like a really good thing we wanted to see for many years. And yeah, anyway, yeah, so today, thank you for joining me. And I'm going to start my presentation. And Jessica, could you go to the next slide, please? Thank you so much. And yeah, so Miss Bao is an Asian fusion restaurant cocktail bar. We are located in downtown Kingston. Downtown Kingston is a relatively like tight-knit community, and we opened our door actually like 2 days before the pandemic. Yeah, as mentioned in my bio. But anyway, sustainability was still the biggest our goal from day one when we like opened our door. So yeah, so I'm going to be talking about some practices we do at the restaurant, as well as how we achieve the waste diversion number at the moment. And at Miss Bao, we are Asian fusion restaurant offering like a tapa style shared food at the restaurant, as well as some amazing like regional cocktails crafted by our talented bartenders. So we have a lot of plant-based dishes at our restaurant as well. Actually, like more than half of our menu are plant-based, and we do believe with the higher number of plant-based and like carefully selected protein sources will help in the sustainability perspective. And so that's why we have a lot of plant-based on our menu right now. And we do also run a seasonal menu at our restaurant. And we believe the importance of the using the freshest ingredients, seasonal ingredients, and collaborate with our local farmers. So therefore, our menu changes about 3 times a year. And if you dig into our menu, you will actually find that a lot of our menu descriptions say like seasonal vegetables instead of like mentioning the specific vegetables we are using. This way is to create a flexibility of just using the freshest ingredients and whatever we get our hands on from our local farmers. And we take our pride in the fact that 95% of produce meat and seafood are sourced locally. And the 5% are being some like citrus and tropical fruit we currently can't like grow it, like we don't grow in Canada, and we are looking to cut that percentage this year, and by working with our bartenders and kitchen chef and pastry chef to achieve that. And in terms of sustainability, during the pandemic, everybody knows like a lot of restaurants shift their model from like dine-in to like a takeout or a delivery meal. So during that difficult time, we also created like a meal like a meal box program, which we gather all the amazing like fresh locally ingredients from our local farmers, as well as like proteins we sourced within the 50 miles radius, and put them together in a meal box and provide people with recipes so they can actually create their own like Miss Bao inspired dish at home, which we found it's more sustainable than offering takeout and delivery services, and it's more economically like making sense instead of hiring a third-party delivery company, paying them like 25 to 30%, which it hurts the business a lot. So yeah, by doing that, we actually sell like through the pandemic pretty smoothly, even though we were a pretty newly established restaurant. So yeah, and thank you to our talented culinary team for creating the program, and everybody helped in making videos and everything. And yeah, so that is our like meal box program we did during the pandemic. And sorry, next slide, please. Yeah, and as being said, when building this restaurant from like ground zero, we already took sustainability into consideration. So creating a zero waste restaurant was our goal from day one. So here are the 7 practices we incorporate in our like daily operations, as well as from like day one, from the designing phase even. So the first one we often talk about in sustainability is the 3 R's, or this like here I have the 7 R's, which are the rethink, reuse, reduce, repurpose, reuse, and recycle, and rot. So rethink, it's a very important one when you want to build a sustainable business. So you got to think, what are the like fundamental like problems are, and in order to make things better, as well as like understand the whole industry, and to see what are the opportunities. So first one is rethink. We start by rethinking traditional restaurant design, from like incorporate like energy efficiency, supplier, waste management, menu, portion size, to decor and tableware, and material and life into our design goal. So our business has been like there has been some like things that we use to rethink the entire process. First one is try using local and seasonal ingredients whenever it's possible. If it's not possible, we find alternative to make it possible. And the second one would be to rethink of our procurement. In like the restaurant, in the restaurant build, like restaurant construction phase, choosing the Energy Star equipment. This will end saving you tons of money in terms of like energy usage, and there's so many benefits. It's just the like initial investment may be a little bit bigger instead of using like traditional like non-Energy Star equipment. And also like you like try if we try sourcing some like refurbished equipments as well, from some reliable agency, as well as like secondhands, and hiring local artists and designers to help you design the restaurant. And this way you can also build a relationship with the community if you are outsiders, let's say. Like I didn't grow up in Kingston. I came to Kingston for high school and university. So for me to open a business in Kingston, well, Kingston's like very welcoming. However, like I don't have a lot of roots in Kingston, and by connecting with local designers and artists, that will definitely help us like get our exposure, as well as like build a relationship with the community. And by rethink material like end life, if I get a piece of furniture, where is the furniture gonna go if it's broken, and what is the end life of that piece of furniture or object, and incorporate that into the restaurant design. And the second one is to refuse. Refuse is a very important one. And nowadays there are like always like so many options we can pursue. And even we go to grocery store, there's some like free tasting and there's some like samples and stuff. So refuse, it's not always easy in the nowadays world. So refuse for us, it's more about the packaging goods. So sometimes it may seem attractive that like some ready-to-use like packaged goods made by a manufacturer are on the cheaper side, and it seems like it gonna have you make more money, but eventually if you like don't take that into consideration and just like refuse using these type of products, you will also find your own groove and your own way of creating your like menu without using these packaged goods, and ended up like finding cheaper vegetables, and by building relationships with the local community, local farming community, as well as like making like a healthier meal and attract more buyer, because your product's unique. It's like not something they can find from the grocery store shelf. It's like your own recipe. So that's how we like refuse like packaged goods. And also we build relationships with our suppliers, and we often do a bin exchange program with them in order to get them to pack everything in a single use like plastic bag or cardboard boxes. So we have our bin at their facility, and then every time they deliver, we do a bin swap with them. So that's like an example of refuse at our restaurant. And the third one is reduce, to reduce our ecological footprints by using only seasonal ingredients, by preserving seasonal ingredients into fermentations, pickles, and stuff like that, that will supply us like during the winter time, and be able to create some very unique dish for the cold season in Canada. And the fourth one is I want to talk about is repurpose. There are so many ways you can repurpose things in the kitchen, from like making stock by using the trims of the vegetables, as well as if there's some bags or packaging before recycling them or throw them away, we use it for some other purposes and then give them another life type of thing. And repurpose, there at least to another goal I want to talk about for this year is we currently only using the trims for our stocks and like cooking, but we are looking to like getting a couple dehydrators in and dehydrate them and start making vegetable powders, so people can use it for vegetable stocks at any time. And we would like to donate it to the local like food banks and like Martha's tables and stuff, like the community programs to help them create a healthier meals for the underserved population in Kingston. So that is the repurpose. And the next thing I want to talk about is reuse, which is the number 5. So we reuse like traditionally unwanted items, like banana peels and stuff. Like we always say it's like an odd one, but sometimes we like to explore the opportunities of like how to reuse these things. And also like sometimes we do source like pineapples in, and they come with the pineapple head, and we like often like break them and like try to grow them and give it to people who are like interested in growing their own pineapple plants. We actually have a plant at our restaurant which we planted pretty much like right after the lockdown, the COVID-19 lockdown in 2020, the first one. And right now it is flowering, and I'm so happy about it. So that is the reuse. And recycling, I guess it's very like straightforward. At Miss Bao, we do not use any waste management company. We do our recycling and sorting by ourselves. And this way is also to educate our staff by having them getting a hands-on experience of like how to recycle things at the restaurant. And as being mentioned in a lot of like articles in our social media, we have like composting machine on site at Miss Bao, which we compost all our organic waste on site. And after the composting, it becomes a very like a nutrient-rich soil, and we offer them to our local farmers like in the growing season, and it in exchange for discounted vegetables and like cheaper vegetables. Yeah, and that's the number 7 rot, which is the compost. And next slide, please. Yeah, so after talking about like so many like practices like we do by following these 7 R's, here are some past, present, and future achievements and goals we're looking for to make in 2023. So in the 2022 fiscal years, we have generated about so here the size looks like 2 pounds, but last time when I got my new data from December, we're actually at 1.8 something pound average of like loose volume landfill per week, and that one also include all the waste from the washrooms, which are like feminine products like baby wipes and stuff like that that are not compostable and brought in by like maybe customers, or some first aid stuff like Band-Aid, gloves, and those like biohazards and stuff. So this number includes everything, from the washroom waste to the biohazards. And I always like hear people talking about, oh, it's an amazing number and stuff like, but I think the most important thing to us is not just the number, it's what in the landfill. And if there's something we can divert, we'll definitely try diverting. It's more about like what it, like we don't really care about the 98.5%. What we really care is the 1.5%, if we can make that even less. And compared to a traditional like restaurant and hospitality industry the same size, our waste reduction is about like 99.5% better than them. That is like a big thank you to our dedicated staff who works on sorting, diverting all the waste at the restaurant. It's definitely not an easy job. Just imagine like it has been like a long day of dinner service, and instead of just dragging the trash like outside and put it on the curbside, like you have to actually like sourcing a lot of like waste like piece by piece by hand, and it's a lot of work. And I'm really like admire like the staff that we have at our restaurant, how dedicated they are. So that is the solid waste diversion. And second one is the energy audit. That's what we are also like trying to do starting from this year. So last year we, because of the pandemic and everything, we actually like switched to the meal box and takeout model for a few months at the beginning of the year. So which which would throw off our energy audit numbers and stuff. So this year would be technically our full year, our first year full year operation. So we are really looking forward to do our energy audit to see where are the things we can improve. Other than that, as being mentioned in the bio, we're also trying to reduce more of our waste. So there is like a 0.1, 0.2% of the waste in our landfill that can be avoided. We found it's like normally caused by like a lack of organization. Like say we forgot to order something from our regular supplier and we need to get like an emergency one, which ended up like coming with a package and stuff. So that's our goal, like to trying to reduce or even eliminate that. And also reducing the number of the number for the organic waste by making our soup-based powder using those vegetable trims. So traditionally, like usually we are like cooking them in the stock, so it will add weight and stuff, like introduce water in them. So by using them for the dry powder, we're actually hoping to decrease the organic waste weight in our day-to-day operation. And also reduce the even recyclable plastic are not something we are looking forward to see. So we definitely would like to reduce the recycled plastic. There are some stuff that has to come in a recycled plastic, for example, like chemicals and stuff that we can avoid. But we have been also partnered with like local refilleries by doing like a jug exchange program to close the loop. And we are looking forward to reduce the 20% of recycled plastic and cardboard this year as well. Other than that, we're also actively working with our landlord, which I guess like the pandemic caused a lot of like financial burden to a lot of people. And So hopefully this year we will have like a COVID-free year and everything will sell smoothly. And we are thinking to introduce maybe a solar panel on the roof eventually, by working with our landlord to create a plan of like installation and like how we're gonna achieve that. Like because the building right now we're in, it's a rental. It's not like we don't own the building. So all the addition to the current structure will have to be approved by landlord. But we are very lucky that our landlord is very forward thinking, and she's also very supportive of all the decisions we make instead like in terms of building improvements. And sorry, next slide, please. There are definitely some challenges and like main barriers in the sustainability like journey. These are also the points I would like to discuss with you guys like in the breakout room later on, of government policy, from government policies to traditional mindset to profit and loss, how to make money, what costs money, but what has a good return, financial return, and also like the supply issues in the current like world. Especially last year there were a lot of supply chain issues, so I'm also looking forward to discuss these with you guys in the breakout room later on. And next slide, please. And I know this quote, like you've probably seen it 1,000 times everywhere. It's, some people think it's a cliche, but it is like a quote we really like, and I think it will actually make a difference. Instead of having one person do it perfectly, like we'd rather seeing people like millions of people working towards this goal, and to make the to make a more sustainable food culture instead of just one person doing it perfectly. And next slide, please. And that just wrapped up my presentation today. And here's my email and our Instagram. And if you have any questions in the future, please let me know. You can send me an email at any time and I'll get back to you. Yeah, and thank you so much.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Bellen. That was just fantastic. And so much of what you spoke to, I think really we can relate to even just daily life. Like the first one you had, rethink. Like there's so many things in our daily life that we just, actions that we take all the time, that we can definitely, using those principles, implement that into our daily life, whether we own a restaurant or not. But we can rethink our choices, we can rethink how we do things. So it was amazing to see the journey that you guys have been on. So thank you so much for your presentation. And yeah, so we will move on to Douglas. We're so excited to have you speak. So I will hand it off to you, Douglas. Go ahead.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for this opportunity. And Bellen, it was so great to see your journey and your process and your touch on things. It's yeah, I'm going to do my very best within this presentation not to reuse too many of your sentiments, because there's obviously a big intersection, a very, very big intersection. We're both in a very, very similar journey, but coming from it with different, well, firstly, different geographies, very, very different supply chains from where you are to where I am. So hopefully this presentation that I'm about to share will offer a different worldview of sorts. It is quite an ambitious presentation, so I'm going to get straight into it. I'm going to share my screen. Forgive me if I forget how to do this. Screen share. Okay, start. I think this is going to work. Yeah, all right. Can everyone see that and still hear me?
Yeah, perfect. Thank you.
Sweet. All right, lovely. All right, so yeah, Silo is a zero waste restaurant. The idea is that we're trying to not have a bin. There's an emphasis on trying. So Silo started, when did it start? 2000, over 10 years ago in Melbourne as a pop-up concept. And there was this thought that I had due to unusual circumstances, that waste is a human thing. So a lot of what motivates me in this restaurant is a perspective, a worldview. I was careful to use that word, that term, worldview. It's having a series of events that has led to a certain amount of revelations, which has kind of formed that worldview. And I worked in some of the world's best restaurants, and it was one of the worst experiences of my life. I'm a school dropout. I have dyslexia, have ADHD, and needless to say, I was not good at school, and I hated it. I was constantly being burdened with information that I'm not interested in. I don't want to spend my life doing algebra. I can't figure it out. I don't want to do it. So yeah, I dropped out of school and sort of ambled into the first thing that I could think of doing that wouldn't kind of call me stupid, which is how I felt at school. And I was in a restaurant that was terrible, and serving frozen food from a plastic bag in a microwave, and it was terrible. Then I sent my CV to all these like world-class, or some of the best restaurants in the country. Got to these sort of these kitchens, these holier than thou restaurants that believed that they were the chosen ones, and it was another terrible experience. That, you know, we were doing things for the reasons of very superficial, very shallow, meaningless ideologies of perfection, you know, the Michelin stars and world best restaurants and these lists that defined the existence of these places. And it felt completely vapid and meaningless and empty. And I kind of kept going and got relatively good at cooking and did quite well, but it just felt completely, yeah, I don't know why I was doing it. Well, I was doing it because I didn't really know what else to do at a young age. And then I met an artist. I met an artist called Joost Bakker. He's a Dutch guy who's a creative genius, and I definitely look him up if you've never heard of him. Joost, Joost. Bakker, Bakker, and he's a genius. And he said to me back in 2011, could you not have a bin? And that question, that provocation, has led me to a bunch of ideas that has then formed into Silo, which we're going to talk about. So I'd like you to keep an open mind, obviously, which is the first point of the 7 to rethink. You know, the thing that I'd like to say with this picture here is that we need to change the way we think. If we think in the way we've currently been thinking, and I'm speaking generally and broadly, we're never going to find the solutions. We need a new way of thinking to design out those problems. I feel like that I'm speaking largely around creativity here, but you exist, not you or anyone here, but generally speaking, we exist in a world where we're told stories, and these stories, we're born into this world with these stories, and we believe in these stories because it's just easier to believe in these stories. And then we have this kind of worldview which is blinkered, hence the blinkers in this little diagram that I did. And we sort of see this path, you know, this kind of hero's tale, this kind of American dream, or whatever the story is that, you know, you've been subject to. And through very privileged fortune throughout my career, meeting this guy Joost and having some really good mentors, I've been de-blinkered. That's not a word, but it is now. The blinkers have come off, and I've sort of seen something different from the kind of stories I've been told growing up. And I feel like the solutions to waste can be found in this open-minded space. And I think it's so important. I just think it's absolutely critical to have a clearer view, unencumbered by the false stories of the world around us. This is a restaurant that has questioned the way things are. This is Silo. This is a restaurant that is designed to not have waste, and it's designed from waste. So there's two sort of sides of Silo. One is the systemic prevention of waste existing, and the second is to react to the waste that does exist and find creative, artistic, functional ways of turning that waste that does exist into things that we need. So paired with some regenerative materials. So we'll talk about regenerative agriculture in a little while. Absolutely important, critically important with the food system, critically important. And then on the floor, you've got a cork, industrial cork floor that is totally pure cork, natural, industrial strength, but made from a regenerative system. And likewise on the ceiling, you can see these kind of like red mesh, but it's got sheep's wool, both insulate, both keep sound in, both beautiful, both regenerative. Other than that, all the materials that you can see here are made of waste. So mycelium grown on spent beer grains. In the far corner, you can see this kind of like funky cocktail lounge. That's made out of mycelium grown on spent beer grains. The fascia of the bar is made from upcycled leather. The pendants over yonder are made from seaweed. The lights on the right-hand side of the wall are made from our wine bottles, which I'm going to dive into that as a specific piece of information. Another view of the restaurant, you can see we project the menu on the wall. This saves a lot of paper and a lot of stress from the traditional systems of printing menus, which is very stressful. And the ink comes in plastic, the printer breaks, and then you've got a bit of a headache there, and the spelling mistake that the person makes, so you have to reprint another 50 menu, it's a headache. So we project the menu on the wall. It's live with our website. It's just great. Some wood you can see, regenerative coppicing, dead wood, blah, blah, blah. Systems of getting wood that we can then cook on fire. We have an open fire in the restaurant. The flour mill, it's actually the Silo logo, which you can see on the top right of the menu. It's the outline of the flour mill, which you can sort of make out from this image. Little oat roller, butter churner. We don't do those things for novelty. We do those things because when you get food from nature, it's whole. We're going to talk about that in a second, but we need to be able to process whole foods from scratch within the restaurant. So I'm going to talk about this idea called new waste. This is my way of giving credence to upcycling materials, or in this materials reborn. I'm going to give you some examples to make more sense of this. And why does upcycling need a new name? Well, I think there's a whole movement, this huge kind of movement within society, which is so exciting, especially in the creative industries, to turn waste into precious, beautiful objects. It's huge now. It's absolutely huge. And upcycling doesn't quite cut it. So yeah, new waste is the title that I've created. Probably never going to catch on, but there you go. This guy is Adam. Adam is a very clever guy that turns plastic. So he's got like 20 plus supply chains of waste, non-recyclable plastic that he upcycles into these boards. You can see the different samples on the right. Beautiful big sheets of waste plastic that you can take, you can buy, you can have a clever designer turn into bars and tabletops and whatever you want. We use this excessively through the restaurant. Another upcycled plastic venture, Louise and Merle here, they make kind of handmade plates, a very different model, very like done products, whereas Adam just sells a kind of raw material. These are done plastic bag plates, specifically made out of plastic bags. Again, yeah, if you saw a plastic bag on the street, what value would you give to that plastic bag? 0 or negative. It is a beautiful moment when you can turn something with negative value into something precious. Speaking of precious, this knife that this gentleman Tim is holding is made out of 10 of the canisters that you can see on the left or right, whichever way you're looking at this. These are nitrous oxide canisters that loads of the party heads blow balloons on the streets of London, and they go and they do this kind of balloon hit. It's a street drug that's very popular, and whenever I'm cycling to work, I almost topple over on my bike because there's so many of them just on the street. So I said to Tim, who's he makes knives, and he has handles made out of waste plastic. That's made out of milk bottle tops, that handle. But I said to Tim, could you make the blade out of this waste metal? And so this was the first, and it's improved somewhat from this, which, you know, that was a great knife. That is made out of 10 of those canisters. Now, again, you know, turning a plastic bag into something like a plate, but like turning canisters into a chef's knife, you know, that is some ninja upcycling. This is not a villain from the new Batman film. This is Mark Chavala. He is the nicest man that I know. He is a wonderful guy. He's Maltese, but he's a potter that resides above the restaurant. So I asked my business partners, could we have a pottery above the restaurant that turns our waste wine bottles into things that we need? So this is a closed. So I'll tell you why. Why is important. Why should we do this? Why should we close the loop internally on glass? Well, glass is an inevitable single-use material within our system because we can't get the wine, the natural wine that we're inevitably going to serve because we love it and we're proud to work with amazing environmentally sensitive winemakers all across, you know, France, even as far as Italy. So the inevitability of those single-use glass bottles is such that we need to find a responsible solution for that single-use material because it's heavy. You know, shipping it to China, shipping it to God knows where, that recycling system is going to take those empty bottles isn't okay. So we take responsibility, we use this machine, and we turn it into things that we need by turning it into a raw material, and then we sift it to get different gradients of that raw material. As you can see here, that's nice, beautiful green glass. This is clear glass. This is a light dish that you saw on the walls, kind of a close-up. This is clear glass. It looks like a diamond universe. Here you go. You can see, pick this picture because you can see that the coarser grains and the finer particles, should I say grains because it's just like a flour mill, and it's like milling flour. We're milling glass, you know, to make a loaf of bread. This is a loaf of bread made from glass on a wall that is a dish. And then we have plates and various other, there's tons of products that we've now made out of waste glass. So zero waste is just a system with no loose ends. That's how I see it. It's imperfect. We're going to talk about that in a second, but that's what zero waste is. Think about nature, think about a jungle, think about, I don't know, wherever in nature. These closed loop systems in nature pre-existed us and our interference on Earth. And we're aspiring to have a closed loop system. Just like in nature, just like an ecosystem. And so we're trying to mimic an ecosystem. We're trying to close loop in all these different ways. Now, to talk about the systemic kind of prevention of waste, like how to not have a bin or how to minimize what we need to upcycle. Direct trade, we get everything directly from nature. So farmers, fishermen, foragers, hunters, you know, get it from nature because nature doesn't wrap things in plastic. The industrial food system does. So we're circumventing that industrial food system and getting things from nature. Whole food preparation, the flour mill, the oat roller, butter churn that you saw, we have to make things from scratch because it's whole. And then we have to get very resourceful, and we're going to talk about that in a second, with that process, because there's all of this surplus that doesn't exist in a normal industrial food system, such as bran and whey and buttermilk, etc., from this whole food preparation. Lastly, composting. We're going to talk about that as well very quickly. I realize that I've been too ambitious in my slideshow. Vegetables come in reusable crates. Milk and cream comes in reusable stainless steel pails that just go back to the farmer when they deliver it to us. Big, these are 200-litre drums, but for any different operation, it could be different drums that are refilled from this company called Phil. Yes, it's absolutely incredible. I wish that every country had a supplier like Phil. Exotic produce. How does London get chocolate and coffee and things that are not local? You know, how do we do direct trade with chocolate? Well, we do it on these boats. These are what we call the pirate ships. The one on the left is called the Tres Hombres. The one on the right is the Gallant. And this is sailing, as you can see, through Tower Bridge. And it comes to Victoria Dock and then up the canal to where Silo's located, which is on the canal. So produce is coming from as far as South America, the Sierra Nevada mountains. The Mugi tribe is harvesting sugar for us, raw cane sugar, from the Sierra Nevada mountains all the way, and it's sailed all the way on a ship to Silo. Closed loop cooking. I'm going to skip through this because I'm conscious of time. Beautiful, pure, minimal, natural dishes that do honor to nature. Nature is beautiful. Food is precious. Now we're trying to communicate that through foods. And thus, you know, this sort of restraint, minimalism is quite important, I think, to me, artistically speaking, to say that food is precious. These supply chains, a leek is precious, and any chef that just tucks it into the background is a person that doesn't understand how much energy and love goes into growing a leek, and so on. There's a bit of a fault here. Milling flour, churning butter, making sourdough. We don't waste the waste bread. We soak it and turn it into a special thing. A whole fish wouldn't get, you know, 50% of the thing that isn't flesh doesn't get wasted, gets turned into gold via the highway of fermentation. Here is a quick deep dive of a closed loop system within Silo. So bread and butter yields a lot of waste, or the bran, or the buttermilk. Here you can see a dessert that is made entirely or exclusively of the surplus from bread and butter. So we turn the flour into the silo, the bread you can see on the left, and the butter, the cream goes into butter to go on this first course. Now the buttermilk goes into this ice cream. The bran goes into the wafers of the ice cream, and a complex labyrinth of actions from the first course mean that there's a lot of bread waste, which you saw in the previous slide. We soak it and we turn it into what we call a Marmite syrup, which is what you can see glazed over the ice cream sandwich. So it's a diagram of how to close the loop on our cooking. Of all the food that comes through the front door, probably 85% is consumed. They say in a typical restaurant it's 50, so that's quite good. And then the last bit is composted. Here is another example. All the vegetable scraps can be boiled into like basically a stock, but then you reduce that stock into treacle. Now, there's so much to be said here, which I don't have time for, but it's really exciting. Fermentation, yeah, egg whites, dairy cow trim, cuttlefish trim, all turned into some of the most delicious liquids on earth via this beautiful koji fermentation. I like this picture on the right because you can see the different pressings, like a pressing of an olive oil. You can see the clear liquid that comes from like a fermentation like this. It's all the dairy waste that we added koji to, fermented it for 3 months, 3 to 6 months, and had these incredible pressings of dairy garum. And here you can see the solids at the bottom in that big tub. We then turn into this quaver. So it's like a puffed crisp, which is on the dish you can see on the left. At the base of that is this puffed crisp that we grate goat's cheese over it. But then the waste from that koji process itself goes into another miso to continually and infinitely close the loop on every material within that system. So I know this is an overload. I'm being very ambitious. Alien waste, just really quickly, all the non-recyclable, non-reusable, non-anything waste, we're going to use it. We're going to upcycle it in a similar way to that quaver trim. So this is 3 years of waste, actual waste. There's a fourth one, but it's anyway, and that's going to be turned into an art project, but it's the inevitable. Failure, success. We used to fail a lot because we didn't know what we're doing, and no one's ever done it before. And like, this is 2014, and over time, the kind of the blueprint for zero waste is becoming clearer and easier to navigate. And then finally, change is hard. The important thing to any kind of innovator that's out there, and it could be zero waste or any other innovation, is that the further you innovate, the further away from what's currently existing within a system, the further away you go, the more alienated you are, the less guidance people can give you, because no one's done it before, no one's gone that direction. And the harder you innovate, the harder it is. The harder it is to exist in a commercial world. You know, how do you compete? How do we do all those extra things that we do and compete with every other restaurant? It's hard. It's really hard. And it's important to understand the reality of innovation. The book, The Zero Waste Blueprint, exists, working on another. And I just wanted to end on a final kind of sentiment. This is the worldview that I kind of alluded to at the beginning. An industrial food system is humans creating a mechanism, a machine to give us what we want, to feed ourselves. We think about ourselves on this earth. We think about feeding ourselves, and that's, you know, understandable, but we haven't been feeding the planet. We've been feeding ourselves. We've been, you know, pillaging the nutrients from soil and depleting nature of those nutrients and not feeding it, which is what regenerative agriculture practices. We've been pillaging the resources, the fuel, the fossil fuels. We've been pillaging nature for its resources and not paying it back. And that is an industrial food system. A zero waste food system is one that feeds the planet. This is what true sustainability is balance. We can continue to feed ourselves if we feed the planet. And that is how I would like to end this presentation, and just say that waste is a failure of the imagination. Not going to show that slide. Okay, I don't know if I'm back. Am I back? Okay, great. Sorry, I was a bit too ambitious with that. It's always the same. Like, there's like no one thing which is more important than another. So like, I have to say everything. And sorry, I went a bit too much. So I'm sorry about
that. No worries at all. It was, I think it's cutting out a bit. No, that was perfect. I feel like we got to see so many ins and outs of the organization and how complex it is. And I like how at the end, actually, you did speak about the food system, because that's something that we're so embedded with at the Fair Finance Fund, is like trying to reimagine the food system and what could it really look like if we were doing it from a different perspective. And I think also what you said about how when you shift from a traditional model of how everyone does things, you're kind of stepping out, right? And it creates there's no one necessarily to look to. And I think that's why organizations like yours and Bellen's as well, like now there are people that other people can look to. So I think it's really valuable to share all that you have, and you as well, Bellen, because now we have individual organizations that kind of lead the way for other people as well. So thank you so much. I'll just show my last slide of today, which is just a big thank you to all of our funders and partners who make webinars like this possible, and who support our work and who we love to support. So really important to acknowledge them as well. And then our final slide is just our contact information. If you have any questions about today or what it is we do at the fund or anything at all, feel free to reach out to any of us through the several ways here, social media or through email, and our website is also linked there. Amazing. Okay, so I think we have